Welcome back for more Life Civilization Start Over. In last episode, we saw a breakout of the first fascist communist war. This is mainly just down here. Now, one thing I didn't touch on is the international systems. What do they think about this? The Communist Accord is in support of the communists down here declaring war, but they're militarily not gonna get involved on this because there's all these communist nations up here in Europe, a little bit more distant in their communist ways compared to these ones. China and Japan don't really care about what's going on, and if any of these communist nations get involved, or these fascist nations get involved, it would basically escalate to World War VI, because the UN at that point would probably step in. So this is mainly a regional war. So, with that being said, we're going to continue the fighting down here, where Egypt will actually start making their counteroffensive, and it's actually doing well. Egypt's, pretty strong, because do they have access to Suez? Is this Suez or Suez right here? We'll say they have the Suez Canal, and that is generating them a lot of money. And they're even able to push into Libya. And yeah. But down here, the communists are actually being successful, because Sudan isn't that strong of a country. Yeah, they have coastal access right here, and they have all their allies relatively next to them. But Sudan also has some previous beefs with certain countries that kind of want to get resolved. So, yeah, what does that mean? Oh, I copied the next. Okay. 2 more countries have just joined this war. South Sudan and Kenya. Ethiopia and Somalia will consider joining this war, but they know if the communists win, they would probably lose their countries. So those 2 are gonna stay out of this, as South Sudan and Kenya look to want to complete their revenge. Sorry, it's pretty early when I'm recording this. I haven't recorded in a long time. But yeah, South Sudanese troops will start pushing north into Sudan. Not like that. It's more so like this. They also have help from Kenya helping them. And these guys are sending troops from here to there. More so it's going like this. And these neutral countries are also allowing the communists move troops through them. So yeah, the communists are doing pretty well in this war. especially when Georgia finally has its army mobilized and ready, and they will invade into Iraq. And this is gonna go pretty quickly for Georgia. That's Georgia, right? That's what I named it. Yep. Oh, Kuwait's name's supposed to be erased. They don't exist anymore. So yeah, Iraq is gonna fall pretty quickly. Keep in mind, this is probably because Iraq can't seem to go like a few years without getting steamrolled in this series. Yeah, Iraq will lose pretty much the entire country really fast, and Egypt isn't actually surprised about this because they know Iraq kind of sucks. And yeah, so what's Egypt gonna do about this? Well, here's the thing. Oh, yeah, Egypt will actually invade into the Allies' territory to fight the Georgian troops. So they'll actually get around here, like we'll pass Iraq's capital and like hold them off here, while Egypt just proceeds to like demolish Libya. Because yeah, Libya did have a great like offensive at the start, but when Egypt's military was fully mobilized, they were able to like do a lot of damage. Now Sudan is also gonna be able to start doing some damage because their military will get the head out their ass and start fighting back effectively. And they will actually kick South Sudanese troops out of the east and the west of the country. They hold a front line along the border and along this occupation zone, and they will launch a offensive into this occupied territory of the CNU and take back this capital and start heading towards the city and taking it. Now, why would they do that instead of focusing on this front line? Well, their idea right now is to push and flank the capital city of what country is this? Chad. And Chad's like strategy right now is to push directly to Sudan's capital, while South Sudan tries to create some distractions in the southern area. Libya's plan right now is currently not fucking die, because Egypt's plan is this, just keep going. If we accidentally shoot these people though, like this guy's right here, and he's just smiling long, and then bam, his head gets blown off. That would mean, uh-oh, the whole ass UN's getting involved. Wait, they're not in the UN, but UN would probably still get involved. So Egypt has to make sure their troops aren't too ambitious. Meanwhile, they're also trying to... They don't, like, see it necessary to get all of Iraq back. They want just get half that country and maybe annex it into their empire. But that also depends on if Turkey sends troops right down here, because if Turkey gets involved, that might escalate into a world war, and they don't want that. So yeah, that's the whole like battle plan for everybody here. And sadly, the one that's gonna come true is probably the fascist one, as Egypt's offensive into Libya is, unfortunately for the communists, pretty successful. After losing their last two major cities, Libya will surrender. And now that Egypt doesn't have to worry about this front line, they're thinking, who should we prioritize first? Georgia, they don't even have capital, what the fuck? Or Chad. If they get Chad, they could possibly make the empire, like, about, no, not that color. They could probably make the empire around, like, this size. And they could be one of the most powerful fascist nations in the world. So Egypt will make the decision to just continue their defensive over here while they flood millions of troops down into Chad to try get the country to capitulate as fast as possible. And sadly, for Chad, they can't really handle Egyptian troops attacking them, especially when Sudan finally gets all this occupation back and kicks the rest of Chad out. And it's about getting really bloody for them, because Sudan's troops will officially enter the country and take the city. Meanwhile, South Sudan will be fully pushed out of Sudan. They will just hold defensive along their border for now, as the main focus is to capture Chad, and they will take a lot of land pretty fast. But then, at this point, something major will happen that will change the course of this war. And that event will be the UN, in fears of a potential fascist victory in the Middle East. The UN will bring a vote to the whole assembly, and they will vote on if they will get involved on this conflict. And the vote will go something like this. New vote, Kansas, Arizona, Louisiana, Missouri, and Michigan will vote yes. We're gonna leave the Security Council members for last. In South America, most of them will vote no, but there will be some that vote yes. And it's not like a hostile vote happening. It's just countries just not want to be involved. Algeria will vote no. Zambia and South Africa will vote yes. The whole world would not vote yes. Or no. Greece will vote yes. Albania will vote no. Italy will vote no. Andorra, Catalonia will vote no. Iberia will vote yes. France will vote yes. Poland, Lithuania, Ukraine, and Caucasia will vote yes. Turkey will vote no. And Oceania, Australia, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, and Malaysia will vote no. The Philippines, Taiwan, Vietnam, and Thailand will vote yes. So, 1 second. And the vote will be 2316. And the UN, like, in general, will accept this, like, vote, and they will, make the exception with the countries that vote no. They don't have to be involved in this. Just the UN will be involved in it. And now for the Security Council votes. You see, with the Security Council, the votes are actually gonna be a little different. Ontario votes no. Mexico votes yes. Panama votes yes. Netherlands votes no, so 2 for 2. And the last Security Council member and the tiebreaker for this vote is India. And here's the thing about India. Recently, in their continent, they saw radicalism grow in China and Japan. They also saw how radicalism could fall very fast in Australia. And they've been very upset about what's been going on in Africa and the Middle East becoming rapidly radicalized. And with that being said, and in fear of a fascist victory, India will vote yes. And so be it. The UN declares war on the fascist Afghan alliance. And when they declare war, India's allies will join the war on the side of the UN. 1 second. This shit that shouldn't exist anymore right here. So all of India's allies come to the aid of the UN, except for one. And that is communist China, because there's gonna be somewhat of an oopsie. You see, China sees this as an opportunity to get some land from Japan. So they are gonna do something a little silly, a little funny. They are actually gonna send some troops into Japanese-held Korea. And when this happens, Japan's gonna pull the trigger. Japan's gonna call the entirety of the fascist order into this war. And there's also gonna be another oopsie. Believing that the UN is kind of doing this to be aggressive towards radicalism, not just fascism. Moscow is gonna be like, we kind of don't really trust you, Poland, or Europe in general. So the communists would do this up here, and the communists in Africa are like, what the hell are you doing? And Moscow will make the decision to call a Communist Accord meeting, and half the Communist Accords mad at them, and half of them are supportive of them. So this war is about to get really, really complicated, because there's gonna, in between this, is kind of gonna be a communist civil war breaking out. Oh, wrong layer I copied. So, yeah, to put it bluntly, how am I gonna cover this? I think I'm gonna do the communists or green up here. So, yep, these countries will be against the UN, and including them will also be West Germany, because they kind of want to earn that land that's being occupied by the UN, and despite wanting to stay out of the war, the Netherlands are drawn into this war anyways, as they don't want the communists to have that land. And when Netherlands and West Germany start fighting, this is when the rest of communists are like, wait, I thought they were here to help the communists, but now they're killing communists. And here's the thing about Communist World in this series. They aren't smart, and also they're super paranoid. So seeing these communists getting killed by democratic or monarchist troops, they make the assumption that the UN's gonna exterminate all communist nations as well, regardless. Even though they felt like they would come and help us in Africa, we don't trust them. We don't want their help. We shall fight against the UN as well. So, the communist nations of Africa will declare war on the UN as well. And this has just escalated into a whole ass world war. And now the entire Communist Accord will join this war. And this basically forces the rest of the UN countries to either stay out of the war or eventually join. And that's how complicated and fucked up this whole Cold War is, because everybody doesn't know who to trust at this point, and everybody's about to die. So in the next episode of Our Civilization Starts Over, we will see the beginnings of World War VI. See you guys then.